Let's take a look at disparate impact cases. In disparate impact cases, the plaintiff does not argue that the basis for an employment decision is something other than what the employer claims. Nor does the plaintiff assert that the decision is based on the plaintiff's status as a member of a protected class. The contention is that some requirement poses an unnecessary obstacle to employment opportunity and harms some protected class group more than others. The discriminatory effects of the employer's requirements and policies, rather than the employer's intent, are at the core of a disparate impact claim. In an important early case, the U.S. Supreme Court was called on to decide whether an employer's requirements for initial hiring and transfers were discriminatory. Prior to the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the employer, Duke Power, had openly discriminated against African Americans. They were hired, but only for low-paying, strenuous positions within the company's labor department. Immediately after Title VII went into effect, Duke Power instituted a high school diploma requirement for transfers from the labor department to other jobs within the company. Obtaining a passing score on 2 standardized aptitude tests with the cutoff for passing geared at the median score for high school graduates were added as another requirement and later offered as a substitute for the high school diploma. Although employers routinely establish educational and testing requirements for positions, the practical effect of these requirements was to lock into place the prior segregation of African Americans into the worst jobs at Duke Power. This is because in the 1960s in North Carolina, whites were nearly 3 times as likely as African Americans to have obtained a high school diploma, so the requirement disproportionately limited the employment opportunities of blacks. Setting the cutoff score at the median level for high school graduates was an empty gesture, in that the tests were actually a more stringent requirement than a high school diploma. The Supreme Court was thus presented with a case in which the employer's selection criteria disadvantaged African Americans, but there was no evidence that the requirements were instituted for the purpose of discriminating based on race. Citing the broad purpose of Title VII to promote equal employment opportunity, the court ruled that discrimination in the form of disparate impact was just like disparate treatment, which violates the law. Critical to the court's decision was that Duke Power had not sought to determine that a high school diploma or passing score on the aptitude test was meaningfully related to the ability to perform jobs at the company. White employees without high school diplomas who were hired before the high school diploma requirement was put into effect and allowed to stay on the job performed satisfactorily and attained promotions. If an employment practice which operates to exclude a particular protected class cannot be shown to be related to job performance, the practice is prohibited. For several decades that followed, the precedent established by the Supreme Court's decision in this landmark case, Griggs v. Duke Power, was the legal basis for disparate impact claims. In 1991, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act was amended to specifically cover disparate impact claims.